Hello everybody, my name is PhilFox and welcome to a look at the early August patch preview. We're going to be taking a peek at the champion changes that Riot has decided to make for this one, which will or will not affect the game too terribly much, so let's go in and take a peek. First up, we have Amumu. The nerfs have been hit pretty hard for Amumu, particularly on his passive and two of his abilities. Bandage Toss is having its ability power reduced from 0.7 or 2.7 from 0.1, and Curse of the Sad Mummy, his ultimate, is having its AP ratio reduced to 0.8 from 1.0. What does this mean for Amumu? Well, this means that Amumu is not going to be able, he's still going to be able to go ability power, but he's not going to be as absolutely devastating in a team fight if he decides to go almost pure AP tank. AP tank Amumu, for the past couple of weeks since it's been discovered, like widespread discovered, has been absolutely devastating teams. His ultimate, with just a slight bit of ability power, has a massive ratio. It deals an incredible amount of damage spread throughout the entire team, and I see why they're reducing it. And Bandage Toss. Bandage Toss has a really high base damage because, you know, Amumu is a tank and he needs to get in and survive. But since his AP ratio was so big, most people were just starting him off in the jungle with multiple Doran's rings, and that's about it. I mean, Doran's rings, boots, and they would wander into the lane. Curse Touch, that's his passive. It is getting a 1 second reduction on the amount of time it is on a player, but that's not too much of a hit. I mean, Amumu hits so consistently that Curse Touch will just constantly refresh, so that's not too big of a deal. And as for buffs, Amumu actually got a little bit of a buff here. It makes him a lot less blue reliant. His Tantrum has its mana cost reduced to 35 from 50. Now Amumu, as you may or may not know, has an extraordinarily hard time without blue buff in the jungle. I mean, he just shreds through his mana like you wouldn't believe. This will help his consistency a lot more, making it so that if the team does decide to gank Amumu and to take his blue, and he is forced to not take theirs, he can still go through the jungle and he won't be completely useless for the rest of the game. Moving on, Brand. Brand players are going to be really happy about this one. Pyroclasm. It's all about the Pyroclasm this patch. Missile speed was increased to 1,000 from 800, which is incredible for making it so that that missile gets to where it needs to go and then bounces. And if you hit an ablaze target, I wonder if that's actually still going to be in, it moves faster. There we go. Never mind. Missile speed no longer increases when hitting ablaze targets. This means now that Brand has a more consistent, useful ultimate. They don't have to be ablaze for it to bounce really quickly. It's now just fast. And the new ablaze for Pyroclasm is now the next bounce will prioritize champions. But that does not mean necessarily that the bounce after that one, so you've got your first bounce, which will prioritize a champion if you nail the first one. If that target is not ablaze, then judging by this, it's not going to bounce. It's not going to prioritize champions, so it still might fly down a minion line. But if you're able to cause an entire team to go ablaze, like most Brands would with the mass AoE that he is able to put out, you're going to be able to throw that thing right through a group of people, and it's going to shred. So that's really good. That's a nice buff for Brand. He definitely needed that. Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath has some interesting stuff, and this was all explained, well, most of this was explained within the patch preview by Morello himself, but his magic resist per level is going up to 1.5. His attack range is being normalized to just a slight bit shorter because when he was larger, he kind of felt really weird. When he was small, it felt like he was hitting really far. It was odd. Rupture has its cast time normalized now. It was kind of a between 0.5 and 0.75 seconds, as was explained in the patch preview, and now it's 0.625 seconds to go off. So now you can time it a lot more consistently. You can get those ruptures down. It's a hard skill to land. It really is. And not normalizing it was so hard. That's why Cho'Gath wasn't seen, was just because he was so inconsistent. Feral Scream is having its cast time reduced by just a smidgen, down to half a second, which is good. It needed it. Vorpal spikes, that was also explained. That one, the width is now increased, so it's like a minor buff, but it's more of like a quality of life thing. Think what they were doing to Miss Fortune, that kind of stuff, you know? Feast. Cho'Gath now gains 50 additional attack range when he is larger. This is a pretty good thing for Cho'Gath. Now he's able to get in, but he's able to get in faster and start using those attacks. This, I feel like this might actually bring back kind of an attack speed, tanky hybrid Cho'Gath back to the scene. Just because of what they're doing with his Vorpal spikes and his gain of additional range that'll really help him against other melee champions. His range, or his cast time rather, was normalized to 0.5 seconds for Feast, and the range was increased to 150 on it. So he's got a little bit more on him. Evelynn. Evelynn is looking pretty... They said they wanted to do something about Evelynn because Evelynn was good. Like, she deals a fair amount of damage, but her stealth was just almost non-existent. It was 8 seconds. Stealth now is reduced to 6 seconds before it goes back, and periodic damage, so Ignite, Cassiopeia's ticks, all the poison stuff like that, no longer prevents her from re-stealthing. So if you have a damage over time, you can still re-stealth if you still have a dot on you. That's good. That's good. Although I'm not 100% sure why they made that, because it states that if you take damage initially, or you won't re-stealth. But if you take a damage over time, like maybe the initial tick will cause it, but I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. That'll be one to see if she's able to re-stealth when just taking straight periodic damage. Agony's Embrace, though, the cooldown was reduced a great deal. That is amazing for her. It was such a long cooldown initially, 150 seconds. It was over 2 minutes long. Her ganking potential really kind of suffered because of it. So down to 2 minutes at base is really good. Hecarim, still not many buffs or nerfs for Hecarim. I really don't think he needs a nerf, to be honest. That's just kind of stating the obvious. Devastating Charge is now more responsive. Initial movement speed is increased to 25% from 0%, which is good because now when he presses the button, he's fast. That works. It's good. But he still hits the same max speed. So he'll hit the same max speed, but he'll just start off faster. Onslaught of Shadows. Also, his ultimate. Enemy flee speed is now higher based on how close the enemy is to Hecarim. This will be really good for a tactical Hecarim plays. Tactical Hecarim is just, you go in, you push, and then you ult. And you ult through the person to bring them backwards. Or you don't push. You just rush in, ult, make the person run backwards, and then you hit your devastating charge to knock them back a little further. This will be good for Hecarim because the closer you can place yourself behind the target champion, or in the direction you want them to run, and the closer you are to them, the faster they're going to run the other direction. So it's almost like a controllable Ahri taunt. Janna, this is kind of something that I saw coming a few weeks ago, especially with something when I was filming a few of these games of the league, was Zephyr. Janna's ability power is being reduced to 0.6 from 0.8 on it, because you were seeing a lot of mid Jannas. Her ability power ratios and her cooldowns were so high, and her crowd control was so effective that a center Janna was it was devastating against the right people and in the right comp. Her shield was absolutely massive because it benefits from AP. Her healing was nuts. She had a massive amount of crowd control. This is good to see. No hit on her Howling Gale, though, but that's good. She needs to keep that. Lulu, Wild Growth. This is just a bug fix. Even if the target is about to die, when you cast it, even if it doesn't go off 100%, they will not die. Your target of your Wild Growth will live with that X amount of health, though if they get bursted down after that, they will still perish. Rammus might actually make a comeback into the scene. He was so, I don't know, after the round of nerfs that he took, he's not useless, but he definitely lost a lot of his potential. But now this is good. He gains 1.25 magic resist per level. This puts him in the same category as Amumu. This puts him in the same category as Leona, Alistar, stuff like that, who really need to be tanky but aren't going to have the same gold income. Rumble. Now, we saw this one coming. This was a big one in the patch notes. Rumble's Junkyard Titan Danger Zone damage reduced to 25% from 30%, so they're taking that down a smidgen. 5%, not all that much. That's not going to do too much to hit him, but Flame Spitter. Flame Spitter took a lot of damage off. The damage has been reduced to 90, 160, 130, so on and so forth, to 370 from a max of 450. So almost 100 damage off. It took 80 damage at max. 60 damage at 4, so on and so forth down, 40 damage, yada, yada, yada. It seems, though, that the ability power ratio is staying the same. So it's still like he's going to be able to scale well, but his base damage isn't going to be so ridiculous later on. Especially because they fixed the way that his Flame Spitter works. His Flame Spitter used to be so inconsistent, and now it's going to hit almost all the time. It's got a lot better mechanics behind it. So hopefully as it was explained by Riot, hopefully this will put him in a place between initial Rumble, which was like, okay, maybe you're going to hit Flame Spitter, to recent Rumble, which is now like, you're going to hit Flame Spitter all the time, and you have an automatic Crow Storm that you're throwing at your opponent every 6 seconds. I think I'm going to take the first one. I would rather he's in a good spot and not have him be overpowered and get nerfed all over the place than just lose this little bit. So that's good. That's good. Twitch, not too many changes to Twitch. Not exactly what he needs either. Twitch is, I don't know, since they did the rework, his expunge is almost useless. I mean, Twitch is one of those characters where you need to get 6 stacks, or you need to have time to stack X amount of stacks to be able to use an ability to damage your opponent. If Twitch goes up against a Graves, or if Twitch goes up, I mean, hell, even against a Caitlyn, he doesn't have the time to stack his passive. I mean, it's just not something that he can do. He's trying to get those deadly poison stacks so that he can expunge, but that doesn't mean that he's actually going to be able to get that. I mean, you try, and his expunge at even 3 or 4 stacks. So you hit him with Venom Cask, and then you hit him twice. That's 4 stacks. It does pathetic damage. He has no trading right now. I really think Twitch needed a little bit more of something. I mean, yes, he got a little bit base attack damage, but it's not going to help his expunge, and that's really where his expunge, they wanted to make it scale late game. We get that. But he has no power early game now. He needs to have that power early game. Late game, Twitch is just one of those, he's a glass cannon. He is one of those where you just sit down and you plow through the enemy team, hoping that Spray and Pray hits the whole enemy team, and you can't move. Because you're just trying to get every single Spray and Pray you can get out of that 7 seconds. And if you move, that's one less Spray and Pray that you're going to be able to do. I mean, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. I really think Twitch needs a little bit more work. This may not be, I don't think this will be the end of buffs for Twitch, but we'll see. This is a good start. And Venom Cask missile speed increased by 100. It doesn't move quite as slowly now. Okay, on to Urgot. Urgot, Acid Hunter. They are reverting the change that they made to this. It is now back to 10 damage base plus 0.85 of your total attack damage. Max of 130. This really helps him out. He became super weak. It really didn't feel like his Acid Hunters were doing nearly as much. If you want to hear how Morello describes him as a super tanky anti-carry assassin thing, then watch the patch preview, because he did a much better job than I can of explaining that one. Urgot's role is still kind of one of those assassinate the back line from a long ways away. So hopefully this will give him that back. Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao has been seen a lot lately, but they're not really nerfing it. There's a slight nerf in this one, but there's no real... It's ever so slight. I'll explain. So, base attack damage reduced to 55.3 from 59. Okay, so he's going to have a little bit less base attack damage. That still means he has more than Twitch, but he does a lot of damage, which is good, because he's got his 3-talon strike, which buffs him, and he's got his audacious charge. His attack damage per level was increased, though, to 3.3 from 3, so that's going to give him It's going to give him back the base attack damage, but it'll be later in the game. Audacious Charge was nerfed though. Damage reduced to 230 at max from 250. Still the same almost at low levels. I think they felt that it was just doing a little bit too much burst with the amount of scaling it has. We'll see. Yorick, last one. Unfortunately, Yorick took a little bit of a hit here. Omen of Famine. Ravenous Ghoul will now only heal Yorick for 50% of the damage it deals to minions. Yorick was able to throw out his Ravenous Ghoul and full heal himself, provided that he had the mana to do it, which is why all Yoricks get a Tear of the Goddess and build that into a, now tell me if I pronounce this wrong in the comments, but Maname. They always work into that mana item because it made it so that he could just cast Omen of Famine over and over, and he was unstoppable to push out a lane because he could just cast it on minions and they heal him for a good bit, and then the damage that he dealt afterwards with the Ravenous Ghoul heals him as well. But that prioritizes champions so you can prevent it. Omen of Death was also fixed. The Revenant no longer instantly dies upon casting the death on an allied Evelynn. Apparently when you hit Evelynn with this thing, it just died. It didn't save her, it just fell over. So, a good bug fix to see. Not something that I really wanted to have happen. I never saw this happen in game, but it's still good. So there we go, guys. Those are the changes for the early August patch. Not too much. A few bug fixes here and there. Amumu got hit a little bit, which, I mean, I guess he needed. Rumble got put back down to where he should be instead of a permanent Crowstorm. And Yorick took a little bit of a hit. That's really the base of it. So we will see how this works out in-game. Hopefully we'll still see Amumu around because he's getting that Tantrum mana reduced. Brand, hopefully we'll see him a little bit more. Twitch still needs some work. Meh. We'll see. We will leave this up to Riot. Riot has a really great reputation for fixing things that really need fixing quickly. So if something goes wrong, like they still need a few more weeks probably to iron out the issues with Twitch, then that's cool. I mean, as long as they bring him back to an AD carry status, that's fine. I'd rather he be neutrally powered and on the same level as a lot of the other champions than overpowered as hell. I mean, or underpowered. So it's good that they're taking a look at him. And we all know Hecarim needs something, but we'll see. Maybe they'll do something to him eventually. Alrighty guys, my name is Fofox, and you've been listening to some patch preview notes and some thoughts and takes on it. We will catch you guys next time.